my first impression of the game is that I find it actually to be very fun. I still think it has like a lot of interesting mechanics. It has an interesting setting. I will again preface, I'm a little biased because I love anything like Stalker adjacent, so like SCP adjacent, you know, tactical FPS game, military type gear, sci-fi environment with like mutants and stuff like that. I love that like subgenre, and so for me, I'm a little biased when it comes to that, especially. But after having probably like, I don't know, 30-ish hours in the game, I've gotten to like the 7th monolith level, which is like basically like the main type of progression in the game. I've started to like notice a lot of the flaws. There are like quite a few big ones, but they're not flaws where I think it completely ruins the game and makes it incredibly annoying or it's not good anymore and it's not worth your time or money. But I do think they're valid criticisms, and these are things I think that the developers and hopefully Gaijin could improve upon. And so my two biggest critiques about the game are, one, animations. The animations for the characters, third person, look really bad. They look very like stiff, lifeless. They have like this weird like triangular walking pose. Like the whole upper body doesn't move at all, but yet the legs are just kind of going like this, you know what I mean? And it looks very strange. And so for me, like I think like that and the weapon reloads need a lot of fucking work. Like the reloads look really bad. You know, there's so much improvement that could be done animation wise. And I think if they hired like a dedicated animator who has a lot of experience with FPS games and animating, you know, firearms for reloads and stuff like that, I think that would like really level up the game and make it feel a lot better. I will say I do like the animations and like the inverse kinematics for like motion and movement. It does feel a little wobbly. I think they could like maybe tighten that up a little bit, but overall like the recoil feels pretty good. You know, I like the way the weapons shoot. I think the weapon handling in general feels pretty solid, but that's one of my biggest critiques is like the animations overall are really jank. Like if you climb up or down a ladder, you'll know exactly what I mean. A lot of the melee animations look really bad. A lot of the interaction animations are kind of frankly really bad. And, you know, I really feel like that is just one of the biggest areas of improvement the game could have, is just like make the animations better, level them up, make them look really good, like get like a dedicated animator or team of animators, because I know Gaijin has the money to do that. They make millions and millions and millions of dollars from fucking War Thunder, so I know for a fact that they have the funding to invest into this game if they're very serious about it. So again, no disrespect to the animators on the team already. Obviously the game is still very early, you know, I don't want to be too critical and like, you know, throw you guys under the bus, but I'm just calling it how it is, that the animations suck. They could be a lot better and they need a lot of improvement. The second part of the game that I think that needs the most improvement is the audio design. So in terms of like soundscape and stuff, like I think like environmental sounds are pretty good. Like the ambiance is there. You know, like the differences between in and outdoor sounds are pretty good and stuff. Like, you know, the immersion is there. But when it comes to the important audio, which is like hearing gunshots, hearing players, hearing movement, that needs like a major overhaul. Like it is incredibly hard to hear other people move. A lot of the time you don't even know you're being shot at because gunshots don't even have snaps or cracks behind them. Gunshots are very, very, very quiet, even when unsuppressed. If you put a suppressor on like an M4, that gun is basically silent. Like you can hardly hear it. The only time you know you're getting shot at is basically you see the tracers coming at you, because every single projectile in the game is a tracer. It's frankly just really bad. Like the audio just needs to level up. Like they need like some sound engineers, some people who have experience within the FPS space, because like when you hear people moving, you hear environmental sounds and stuff. Like I remember like the other day I was getting like meleeed by like one of these like one of the creatures in the game, the distorted, I think is what they called. And like I was getting meleeed and I was fighting them, and I didn't even know I was getting shot by AI soldiers that were like maybe 100 meters away from me. I was like, why am I taking so much damage? I didn't know what was going on. And then lo and behold, on the death screen it showed that I was getting shot by AI, and I had no idea I was being shot because the gunshots themselves were so quiet and compared to the melee sounds of the mutants that were right in front of my face. And like there was no snaps or cracks or anything like that to indicate me like, hey, you're getting shot. It really like showed me as like, oh wow, okay, like the audio in this game is pretty bad. Like the levels of attenuation and everything, like they need to like look at the sound design as a whole and see what they can do to really improve it. And so again, those are basically the two biggest things that I think that need to improve. It's the audio and it's the animations. Those two things need some big overhauls for this game to have any legs, in my opinion. If they don't really work on those animations or work on the soundscape, especially when it comes to PvP and stuff, I think this game will not last, because those are frankly really important things for not only FPS games, because animations do a lot for, you know, giving that kind of feedback as a player, like when you're playing the game. When you look at like Modern Warfare, you look at Battlefield, again, I'm comparing like really big studios here, Tarkov, or even Arma. Like even Arma has like slightly better animations than this game, which I find to be funny. And Bohemia's animations are never really that good, at least when it comes to weapon reloads. You know, like having good animations are key to making an FPS game feel responsive and feel really fun. So I really hope that they can do that. And of course, sound is obviously very important too, because like if you can't really hear where you're getting shot from, you can't really hear where players are moving, hearing things above and below you being confusing, all that kind of stuff, that leads to a lot of frustration, and it will make people quit the game because they can't trust the audio of the game. If you can't trust the audio, you can't trust what you're hearing, it's going to create a lot of just like, again, frustration, and it's going to make people want to quit. Hopefully those two things are things that they can improve on, because those are the two things that I acknowledge that are the biggest issues about the game. Animations are kind of like secondary to that, just because like, yeah, okay, the guns don't really look that great when you reload them, but it doesn't really affect the way the game plays. It's more so just like the feeling of the game, if that makes sense, like the quality of it. But you know, also like weapon animations and melee animations are also pretty bad too. But yeah, the sound is more so the bigger one in terms of the gameplay. But I will say, in terms of the positives, now that we've gone over some negatives, the positives for the game are definitely, I really like the vibe of the game, the atmosphere, the maps are really cool. The models are actually really nice. I do think they could tone down like the skulls on the fucking character sleeves a little bit. I feel like like half of the models have skulls on them, and I feel like, why are there so many skulls and everything? It's like some edgy like mall cop airsoft bullshit. Too many skulls. Tone down the skulls on the fucking character models, please. There's just way too many skulls. It's too edgy, too badass mall cop airsofter type vibe. I just think it's a bit silly. A lot of the other character models that don't have skulls, I think actually look really sick. So yeah, like less skulls on the character sleeves would be cool. And if you guys don't know what a sleeve is, it's basically like, it's almost like a hero. They have different armor slots, they have different passives, they have like things that they're good and bad at. Basically, it's basically like a different type of character, but they just call them a sleeve because you can change in and out of them as much as you want. I like the progression. The missions are very interesting. Like you go in like, and you accept a certain amount of missions before you go into a match, and then the more missions you accept, the harder the match is, because there's more things that you have to do before you can like actually extract. Because unlike, you know, other extraction games, in this one, when you accept missions, you have to fulfill the mission before you're even allowed to leave. So that actually forces you to stay in the round for an extended period of time, because you actually have to complete these goals before you can trigger an extract and leave. If you don't do that, you're gonna get stuck and eventually lose, because the match is going to close out and you're going to die. A lot of the progression is really interesting too, like the way the blueprint system works, the way the refining system works, which is basically how you make money. So it's like when you loot items that are enriched, which basically is like a found and raid tag, and you take enriched items, you put them into a refiner, and you break them down into currency, and you can use those currencies to then invest into blueprints. But blueprints can also be earned by using the items in a match. So for example, if I use an M4 in a match, I will get progress on the blueprint, and as you kill things, kill players, extract with the items, or basically just use them in any type of way in a match, it'll make progress in your blueprint. And once the blueprint is done, you can then fabricate an unlimited amount of those items on a duration. So like, for example, like the AK that I have unlocked will fabricate one every 20 minutes. However, you have to unlock more fabrication slots, and there's different like levels to them that you have to progress through, like the main like meta progression as well. And what's interesting is when you fabricate one of these guns, if you try and break it down and refine it, it only gives you 1 credit. So it's an item that's basically tagged as, this is a replicated item, it cannot be sold and it cannot be refined for currency. So it's an item that you strictly only use. So if you go into a match and kill another player with one of these items, and you see that this was a fabricated weapon, you can't sell it. It's not worth anything. It's just something that you use, which I also think is kind of interesting, because that makes it to where like you can't just go there and 3D print money and then like, you know, sell it or make cash. It's like things that you fabricate are purely just for you to use, and that's it. Whereas if you buy something from the vendors or the traders for currency, that's different. You can actually refine those in the refiner and make money off them to get yourself some more currency and stuff. And so there's a lot of like really interesting ideas with this game. I think it actually has a lot of legs. It has a really good foundation. It has a lot of interesting ideas, and I would actually easily say this is probably one of the more unique extraction shooters that I've seen in the genre. A lot of extraction shooters I feel like are just kind of like knockoffs of Tarkov. They don't really feel unique. They don't feel interesting at all. You know, this is definitely one of the more unique games, I think, that thematically is interesting and also has a lot of interesting ideas in terms of the gameplay design. Like one example of that is the secured containers. Secured containers are actually consumable. So you equip a secured container before you go in, and if you die, anything that's in that container will get sent back to your stash, and then the container itself is destroyed. And there are different levels of secured containers that have different cells and volume. So there's different sizes of them, which again, I think is very interesting, where it's like, like this secured container is like, it's not just something that you have on you all the time. It's like when you die, it's consumed and you have to buy another one, or you have to fabricate another one, or you have to find them in raid as well. And again, I think that's just a really interesting idea, and I've never seen that actually done before in an extraction shooter, period. I think it's very cool. So overall, those are my thoughts about Active Matter so far after putting some time into it. Do I think the game is worth your money? I mean, I don't know, maybe. I think if anything, yeah, the $30 version, if you want to have something distract you until like Battlefield 6 or, you know, Arc Raiders in October, this might be something that can hold you over for a little while, because frankly, there is quite a lot of progression and gameplay to be had within Active Matter so far. And so, I'm a bit, like, I give the game like a solid like 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10 if I'm being a little bit more generous. Like, it's got a good foundation, but still has a lot of work ahead of it. The game is still very much in early access, and you can only purchase it off of their website right now. It's not going to hit Steam until 2026, and I imagine that's when they actually maybe fully release the game, or maybe they can consider it like early access on Steam. I have no idea. But overall, I think the game is actually pretty cool. I think it's an interesting extraction shooter. It needs a lot more polishing. It needs to be refined a lot more. And like, there are just a lot of things, frankly, that I think could drastically be improved. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. This is my review of Active Matter so far.